Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. We're back with the last of the reels that Zach sent me. You saw that in an earlier video on the Shimano series. This one is the Penn 4300 SS. It's been around for a while. Just asking me to tune this one up. So we're going to take this one apart. We'll show you how the reel is made and how to tune it up. This reel was made in the USA, so it's been around a while. It's certainly been replaced, or since been replaced by the Spinfisher series 5 and 6. But this is the 4300 SS. It's a graphite case, and let's get started. So before we get started, some of the tips I always give to my viewers: if you're new to the channel, wear a protective glove, have a parts tray available, and by all means, if you're not familiar with the reel, go ahead and pull the schematic. In the case of Penn reels, these schematics are available through Scott's Bait and Tackle, located in New Jersey. They're an authorized Penn parts distributor, and in the case of that, they actually had a website called pennparts.com, and is now mysticparts.com, as they've expanded to have some custom parts. They only handle Penn parts, so if you're looking for a different type of reels parts, they're not going to help you, but if you're looking for a Penn part, that's the place to go. Alrighty, so we're going to start by this. I like to disassemble the exterior of the body first and take that spool off. That spool has a cap to it that's very similar to the Mitchell cap. It's a push button cap that's held on, and then we'll take off the handle. Now, when I repair my customers' reels, I like to notice what side of the reel the handle is on. In this case, the handle is on the right side for a right-handed crank. Noticing that this reel hasn't been serviced in a while. There's some pretty dirty oils and greases in there, so we'll take care of that as part of the servicing. Next up, then, we're going to pull the 4 side plate screws. The side plate screws are Phillips heads, so you want to use a Phillips head. In this case, I'm using the smaller Phillips head. I believe it's a number 1 screwdriver. And as you'll notice as well, I'm working these screws by hand as opposed to using a mechanical screwdriver. I don't like mechanical screwdrivers. They offer a lot of torque, and torque can crack things on the way out and can strip things if you don't have the bit seated properly. So you rarely run into that issue with a hand tightening and hand loosening, so that's where I like to go. So if you have some dexterity issues and the like, and it's a little difficult for you to do that, then by all means go ahead and use one of them, but stop short of pulling it all the way out, lest you rip up something along the way. Okay, so I'm just trying to remove that. I don't have that last screw quite out enough. And we should be good now. For whatever reason, I'll just grab a little needle nose pliers here. See if I can't get that screw out. Just being a little stubborn. Now we should be able to take that side plate off. There we go. And now this has got the older version of the Spinfisher gearing. It's brass gearing. It's a beautiful gear set. It has the little swing arm, a brass crosswind block, which is going to make the spool go up and down. You'll see as I turn that lever moves the axle shaft up and down. We have the main gear, and on the back of the main gear we actually have the anti-reverse gear running as well. So let's continue removing some of these items then. We're going to take off the connector so that we can get the axle shaft out of there. And basically what we're doing for Zach is we're cleaning these reels up. We're getting rid of the old grease and making sure they're lubed up so that he can take them fishing again. Okay, once you pull that screw out, then you should be able to remove the axle shaft. In this case, I have some dried grease on there. It just takes a little while, but walk it off. Then you can pull the axle shaft up. And as you'll notice, I'm putting all of these things into the parts bin as we go ahead and do that. Pay attention as you go ahead and do this now. We have a little collar that's riding on a stud here. If that collar happens to fall off, you'll know where to put it back to. And we have the crosswind block that's screwed in, so we're going to use a flat-bladed screwdriver for this one. Now if you find that these screws are turning tight or giving you some resistance, you can always take a little bit of penetrating oil and just kind of load it up just to let it work its magic. I'll just do that for the demonstration purposes. This is moving fine. You don't want to crack one of these screws. They're hard enough to find as replacements, but more importantly, if you jam it in the case, that could be problematic. Okay, so we're taking that screw out. And then that'll release the crosswind gear. You'll notice we have an anti-reverse dog here. It rides on a little collar. And what we want to make sure we do here is put the override into the down position so that it stays off of the main gear when you go to pull that. Well, it's all going to come out anyway. I forgot there's a little tag on here. They have this little setup here with the pronged hold, and it rides on the back gear here. So when we go to reinstall, I'll show you how to do that. And you have a little collar. That's what this is. That rides inside the anti-reverse dogs setting. Okay, I'm just going to hit this with some of that penetrating oil, clean up the pieces. The case is relatively clean, which is a good thing. All we need to do is wipe that down with either paper towels or pull that up with the cotton swabs. Just get that off. But the main issues on this reel and the other ones that Zach gave me is that there's no grease rather than too much or old grease. Almost all of this is coagulated. Now we'll go up top. We're just going to inspect up top. There's a bearing up here. And there's quite a bugaboo on this one with this series of reels. This has a clip ring that goes on it. Now most of the time you'll be able to find that it's got a small point on the one side, and you can pull the clip ring by getting behind that small point. And we'll see if we can pull this out or not. If not, we're just going to I'm trying to do two things at once, talk and try and get this thing out. You need to hold to one side of it. It's a bearing retainer clip. So generally what you have to do is find something that fits in the groove, and I know my hand's covering that at this point. Kind of tough to do. Almost had it. Not there we go. Once you get that out, you'll notice the one side has the point, and that's the one you want to work behind. Just not an easy design there. That's how it comes out, and we can pull the whole shaft out. Take that bearing off. I know I got a lot of parts on my desk here, and that always makes me a little nervous. I like to have those parts in the tray, but I have them soaking with that mixture. That's why it's where it is. Now I'm just cleaning this one off. If you're doing something like this, I know I'm doing this for the camera, and it's a little bit tough here. I hope you can see it. I'm just running my finger with a paper towel in between each one of those grooves. And we're going to put a little bit of grease on there now. I'm going to use a Penn Precision Reel Grease. We'll go ahead and re-grease this. And use a little artist's brush to spread that grease. And I'm just going to put it on that the track for the bearing, and then we'll put some into the pinion gear teeth. Then we're going to put a little bit where it's going to ride into the holder. With that, then I'm going to change over now. I'm not going to use grease on the bearings. I'm going to use oil. I use Real-X oil, which is a synthetic fishing reel oil. I just had a question come in the other day about, you know, what kind of oils are best. We all have our opinions, I guess. He was asking on the hot sauce brand. I think they're all fine as long as they're fishing reel oils. Just like you can get into a debate about whether Penn or Daiwa or Shimano or Mitchell or whoever makes a good reel. You can also get into those same debates about the oils. I would tell you that there probably is, you know, fans on all sides of it, and that's okay. That's what makes the world go round. But at the end of the day, what you just want to make sure is that it's a fishing oil. After that, you'll all find the pros and what works best for each. Okay, then that C-clip is back in now. This is turning, and I'm just going to finish cleaning up the rest of this. Get that. There's accumulated grease from the years on the side bearing. We'll do the same thing now. I'm going to reinsert that into the case. And then I'm going to give that a little drink of oil. Okay, so here's our anti-reverse dog. And it has a friction clip here. That friction clip runs on the back of the main gear. And so you just want to install it that as it's riding along, it's going to work like that. When you get there, we can inspect the teeth of the main gear. I don't expect to see any problems there. You also inspect the inside teeth, which are driving the crosswind block. Do the same thing we did before with the grease. You don't have to get it in every tooth. Just get it in a couple of places. As the gear spins, it will take care of making sure all of those get lubricated. And then you want to turn your assembly as such so that you can seat the anti-reverse dog over the stud. Just trying to move the lever up a little bit so that we can get it down, and then I'm going to put it, because we had that locked in there, and then that collar goes over the assembly like that. Then we got a little bit of junk sitting on here, so we're going to get that off. Now we did put grease onto the teeth of the other one, but it doesn't hurt to put some here, and it also doesn't hurt to put some around the stud, which is going to slide for the assembly. With that, we can insert the screw, mesh the teeth. So I paused the video because you didn't need to watch me struggle putting that little screw to get started, but it's started now. Let's just complete tightening that down. Next up would be putting a little bit of grease onto the face of the crosswind gear. Get a little bit around that stud too. Then we have that little cup washer I was talking about. That goes underneath. Then we can replace the, I'm going to hold my finger on that cup washer, we can replace the rotor and the nut. I don't want to spill that cup washer out there. Tighten that down. I'm noticing there's a little bit of grease in there, so we can take care of that while we're doing this. A little bit of dried kind of grease there, just a little scraping. And if you like, you can hit it with some penetrating oil. That'll help loosen it. Then back to your cotton swab. There you go. We're nice and clean there. Okay, so we've completed the rotor. We're back here then. We're going to go ahead and clean off the crosswind lever. Then we can bring the axle shaft. We want to clean that. I use a little 4-row steel wool. And you can put a little bit of grease on there. Don't put a lot on. Just a little bit to help the inside of the shaft there. Then we've got to line the axle shaft with the hole in the crosswind block. And we need to find the screw for that. Hopefully we don't have the same problems that we just did with the other one. Me and little screw. There we go. You can spin it at this point, make sure that everything's spinning properly, which it is. I want to check them. Now we can go just clean a little bit off the side plate. And we'll give the bearing a good drink of oil there as well. And we can reassemble the side plate. Now I noticed when I took the side plate off that we had one short screw. It belonged here. You always want to check when you're doing that. I forgot to mention that on the front end. But you'll notice you have one short and 3 longs. So the longs went in. Oops. Longs went into 3 holes, kind of north, south, and west. And east belonged to the small screw. Next up then, we just simply tighten these down. And all we have to do really is go up top, take a check of the washer. Make sure that the bail is oiled. And we'll be ready to put this one back to Zach and have him go fishing. Put the handle back on. We had this thing set up for a right-handed crank, so we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to put a drop of oil in where the piece is going to meet. I'll give that a quick turn, much smoother. Put a little bit of oil just in the crevices on both sides of the bail, also on the line roller mechanism. Make sure that the bail is tripping properly. Let's come over here for a moment to the spool assembly. I want to make sure that the bottom of the spool is cleaned. Then up top we should only have a metal washer and a drag washer. Here's your metal washer, followed by the pressure plate, followed by the drag washer. So I'm just going to, there's some debris inside here. Let's just clear that out. We can grab a utility knife to pull that drag washer. Because you want to make sure that it's clear of the debris. When you do that, you're going to lose your shaft there. This is an HT100 type of a drag washer, so we can go ahead and put some drag grease on that. So I'm going to use Cal's Universal Drag Grease, and the way I apply the drag grease is I grab a little screwdriver or something, put a good sized glob on both sides, use my gloved hand as a tool, rub it into the drag washer so that you can cover the grooves, and then wipe the excess off with a paper towel. That's the whole purpose of the drag greases, is to keep those washers flexible so that they don't dry out and become problematic later. Now we'll just clean that channel, reinstall the drag washer, and grab the pinion or the sleeve. Then we have a Teflon washer here. Teflon washers, you don't do anything other than make sure it's clean. That's the next on. Then you have your metal washer. And then you have your tension spring. So that's it. That's how you service the upper end of this reel. Just simply snap that on like you would a Mitchell reel or otherwise. Give it a crank, make sure that it's working. It's in nice condition. I'll check the strength of the drag. It needs to be tightened. There we go. Now we're pretty much there. And that's it. That's your Mitchell 4300 SS. Nice and quiet. Ready to go fishing. So Zach, these will be on their way back to you. Thank you for sending them in. I appreciate it. And good luck fishing. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you all for watching.